Welcome, welcome. This episode, we're going to talk about 3 habits that are going to supercharge your practice routine. What are they? Number 1, practice mindfully. Be present when you're practicing. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So when you are practicing, please turn off your television. Turn the notifications off on your phone. Distractions are your enemy. We want to make a connection with our instrument for the precious time that we have. It is important that when we practice, we employ mindful practices. You know what I mean? Be present. Turn off the television, turn off the notifications on your phone, and really give your instrument that time. Make a connection with your instrument, whatever instrument you're playing. Number 2, we're going to start to integrate chord tones into our practice routine. What are chord tones? Chord tones are whatever notes that exist in the chords that you're practicing over, which leads me to number 3. Number 3 is we're going to start using loopers in our practice routine. Loopers are incredible tools, and they will take your practicing to the next level because it's going to give you a backing track to play over. So you can be mindful and you can have a function towards your practice. You will know what chords you're playing over, what notes are in those chords, and how the scales and the notes that you play affect the music that you're playing over. And if you stick with me to the end, I will share with you a bonus mind-blowingly simple hack that will really change your life. If you adopt this, I promise you, you will see immediate results in your playing. First, we're going to talk about loopers. Loopers come in all shapes and sizes. There are big, complicated, expensive ones. There are medium-sized ones that are not so expensive, and there are tiny little ones that are really inexpensive. These things are incredible. I like the simple ones. I don't like a lot of junk and bells and whistles and stuff that distracts me from what I'm doing, which is making music. So here's 2 examples of relatively inexpensive loopers. One, the Boss RC1, which to my knowledge is the easiest, simplest one, and the least expensive one that they put out. This one is about $120, I believe, and it is super simple. It has 1 button and 1 knob, and that's it. So when you press on the knob, when you press on the button, you start the recording process. When you press on the button again, it starts to play your loop back. If you press it twice quickly in succession, well, then that stops the loop. And if you press it twice and hold it for 2 seconds or more, it will erase the loop. So you press it twice, you hold down for 2 seconds, it erases it. $120. This one is called Legato. I love these. I have these on my pedal board. The real estate imprint is minuscule, and they're only a measly $50. They're incredibly inexpensive. They're robust. They're made of metal, and they have the same functions as the Boss RC1. You have press once to record, press again to loop, press twice to stop, press twice, hold for 2 seconds. It will erase your previous loop, and you have a knob here, a volume knob, that adjusts the level of the backing track so you can get the perfect balance. So let's set up this looper. This week, I'm going to choose the Boss RC1 for one very technical reason, because it matches the red on my shirt. Let's get at it. So as you can see, I've set up the looper down here. Now, one very important thing is that we learn to use the looper properly. So in my opinion, I strongly suggest that you put the looper last in your effects chain. If you have any kind of overdrive pedals, modulation pedals, or delay or reverb pedals, that you put the looper at the end of the chain, because you don't want to run your loop into a distortion pedal. You want to, if you want to use a little bit of overdrive on your loop to make it sound the way you want based on your preferences for musical style, you can do that. But then you'll want to have independent control of your guitar sound afterwards, where you're practicing your soloing over, or your other accompaniments or whatever else you're doing. So I strongly suggest that if you're putting it into a clean amplifier, that it is last in the loop, goes into a clean amplifier or into your sound card or whatever sound system you're using to listen back to this. So how do we make loops? Loops are a little bit tricky at first if you're not used to it, because if you want your loop to be effective as a practice tool and as a musical tool, we want that loop to be smooth. I'm just going to make a 2-bar loop. So let's see if we can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's listen to the loop. Okay, all I've done, I have an overdriven guitar, by the way. And all I'm gonna do is turn the volume knob down a little bit to get like a kind of a clean, dirty sound, or a clean sound, an almost clean sound. And let's listen back to that loop I just did. That's pretty smooth. Now, it probably won't be that easy for you if you are new to looping. So I'm going to press my pedal twice, and I'm going to hold it so it erases that loop. I'm going to make another one, and we're going to talk about some of the possible pitfalls that you might experience in using a looper for the first time. So it's important that you get the rhythm of whatever rhythm you're using, that you get 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa, okay, what happened there? Okay, that's probably what will happen the first time you try it. Let's listen back to see what happened there. Okay, so I got a little bit over anxious and I pressed on the button way too early. So it hiccups. It's not fun to play over, and you won't, you won't have much fun or much use for a loop like that. Now, I understand that there's a learning curve here, but the learning curve that you go through will not be that long if you're diligent, and the payoff of what this will give you afterwards, as you will see as we progress in this video. So press twice, and then I hold, it erases it. I'm going to try again, and we're going to try to make another clean one so we can get going. That's pretty clean. So the idea is you want to start on the downbeat and finish it exactly where the downbeat comes back, however long your loop is. The reason that I say pick a 1-chord vamp for now is because we don't want to have to go through an 8-bar, 12-bar chord progression to find out that the loop doesn't follow. So this is a good way to get good at using your looper really quickly. So now that we have our loop, it's pretty musical. Okay, so now we're gonna, what are we gonna use to practice over this? Most blues rock guitar players would reach for the trusty old minor pentatonic scale. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna assume that we know at least 1 or 2 positions of the minor pentatonic scale. Seeing as this is in E, the minor pentatonic scale in E would probably be most appropriate to start. So what do we have? So that is position 1, or what I call the G shape. I like the Cage system, not because I think it's better than any other system, but because it's very visual for me. I can easily imagine the G shape over this, and I know exactly where I am in the process. And maybe we'll use position 2, or what's called the E shape, because it's visual and it reminds me of the E shape. So let's start off with just some examples of that. Now, we're not just going to run scales up and down. I'm going to assume that you've practiced these scales a little bit and that you know at least the pattern of what these scales are. So this is not to learn. This is not a video to help you learn your scales. This is a video to take it to the next level. So we know what we're playing over, so we know what our scales sound like when we're playing over those chords or that backdrop. Okay, so let's try to make something musical. I'm going to try to develop some kind of motif or a series of maybe 3 or 4 notes that I can develop and expand on later on. So here we go. Let's try it out. So there you go. That's like a motif, the da 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 da. So there's a lot of ways that I can expand on that as I'm practicing. This brings in the habit number 2 is knowing what the chord tones are that you're playing over. So the chord tones, we're using an E7 chord, so the chord tones would be E, which is the tonic. We have G sharp, which is the 3rd. We have B, which is the 5th, and we have D, which is the 7th. It's a dominant 7th chord, so it's a flat 7th. 1, major 3rd, perfect 5th, flat 7. So here we go. We have 4 notes in the E7 chord. We have 5 notes in the pentatonic scale. Penta means 5. So what are the notes in the pentatonic scale? We have E, we have D, we have B, we have A, we have G, and then we're back to E again. So what is in the chord that is not in the minor pentatonic scale? Well, it's the G sharp. I was going to say G flat. It's the G sharp, right? We have 3 of the 4 notes of the E7 chord exist in the minor pentatonic scale. We have the E, we have the D, we have the B. We have G natural, but now if we integrate chord tones into our practicing, we also have G sharp. And let's try the same kind of thing, but every now and then I'm just going to throw in that G sharp. So it's as if my scale has now become right? I'm just adding in one, but I'm not thinking about it as a scale. I'm not running through this. What I'm going to do is I'm thinking minor pentatonic with the odd G sharp thrown in there. Let's see how that sounds. Now you see how just by adding in that G sharp note here and here, how it just brought the whole process to life. To me, those notes just stand out. It doesn't sound like just the minor pentatonic anymore. It doesn't sound like a scale. It sounds like this person is making music because I'm thinking about the chords that I'm playing over. I'm not just running a scale. I want to introduce the looper as a tool. I want to introduce chord tones as a tool, and I want to introduce mindful practicing as a tool. We step outside of the comfort zone of our usual scales that we're used to using, and we are mindful of the techniques that we are employing. There are no distractions. There are no notifications on your cell phone. Really just try to take that precious practice time that you have and really make the most of it. So thank you so much for sticking around with me until the end. Here is, as promised, the bonus hack that could really be life-changing. It was life-changing for me. Pretty much everybody has a smartphone or has access to one. On these smartphones, there is a voice memo app that comes bundled with the phone when you get it. I'm pretty sure that all iPhones and Androids have this thing. Now you use your voice memo recording mechanism to record your practices. and you listen back to them. Because some of the things that you might think sound really amazing when you're playing don't sound that great when you listen back to them in a recording. And other things that you thought were just really nothing actually turn out to be quite spectacular. So this is a life-altering hack that you can use to bring your playing to the next level, because in the moment when you're playing, we are attached emotionally and physically to the process. When it's recorded and you come back and you listen to that afterwards, well, then you have a much more objective view and representation of what your playing is truly like. So please, please, please begin to, at least periodically, record your practice sessions and listen back to them. I suggest sticking to quick 30-minute, 15-minute intervals. Take a quick break, grab a sip of water, get up and walk around, get your blood pumping so that you stay focused and you don't get sleepy and tired from staying in the same position for too long. This will pay dividends in the long run, I promise you. Thank you for spending this time with me this week. My name is Dwayne Dixon, aka Double D. This has been Double D's Rock School for this episode. I'm going to play you out on that funky little groove that we just created. Remember, perfect practice makes perfect. Let's do it.